Hi there. In this lecture we see Bobby Fischer playing against Eleza Jimenez Zerquera. So this is in the Havana Olympiad round 13. Let's have a look. E4 from Fischer, we see E5, knight F3, knight C6, we go into Ruy Lopez, A6, and Fischer repeats for the third time now the Ruy Lopez exchange variation. So he has a few specific downsides in mind, in my view, to tackle, to address, to target. Particularly, for example, later C7 can become an issue, the way Fischer's playing it. He castles, we see F6, D4, bishop G4, and now this C3 move, E takes, C takes D4. So the bishop can potentially come to F4 sometimes, hitting C7. This pawn is more of a fixed target because it's part of those double pawns there. It's more difficult to move away. We see Queen D7, H3, bishop H5. Here, this is an interesting move actually. It does encourage white to consider something which you might not expect. What does white play here? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. Okay, Fischer doesn't mind simplification with knight E5. So he's hitting the bishop, hitting the queen. We see bishop takes D1. If f takes e5, then queen takes h5 check, and queen takes e5 is very nice for white, as you might expect. So bishop takes d1, knight takes, and we have actually king takes. Maybe there's a tiny improvement with bishop e2. It's a little bit arguable if white has a small edge here or not. So maybe overall a small edge. Okay. But king takes is played, and with the king there and with rook takes d1, this is a slightly improved version of events. Rook e8, f3, knight e7, knight c3, king c8. And yes, the bishop actually doesn't want to target c7 in this particular position. There are things like knight g6. But just bear in mind generally the c file and these two pawns as targets, and white's potential to play d5 here. We see bishop e3, f5, rook ac1, f takes, and now g6. At this point, now that the g6 square has been used up, there's no knight g6, the bishop does park against c7. This seems to be the key downside that Fischer is interested in playing this exchange Ruy Lopez, in my view. As we've seen overall from the set of 3 games so far, we see bishop g7, and now a move which is designed to target that even further. Can you guess what Fischer plays? Simple and strong. d5 is played. We have rook d8. If c takes, e takes, this situation with knight a4, look at this. This is a real problem now, this pawn. If rook c8, then knight b6, ouch, and then crashing through. So we have rook d8. After d5 we have rook d8. But now knight a4 anyway. We have rook hf8. If c takes d5, then rook takes c7. And rook c8 check is a mating net to be aware of. And if king takes, then knight b6 is checkmate. So yeah, black's got to tread carefully, can't give up c7 here. And so rook hf8, hitting the bishop. The bishop is actually just simply supported with g3. We have g5 here. If b6, sorry, not b6, if king b8, then d6 is played, and this situation is breaking through. That loose piece on e7 is picked up. So g5, we have bishop takes g5, but this is quite a nasty pin here. We have king g2, c takes, e takes, and now king b8. If rook takes d5, then knight b6 check, exploiting the pinned pawn. Bang. So, king b8, unpinning the c7 pawn from the c file. Pressure. We have rook e1. Now this is a nasty pin exploit. We have bishop f8. If rook takes d5, tactically it works well for white. Just rook takes e7, hits the f7 rook. So yeah, disaster. So bishop f8, rook f1, and this is really awkward now tactically for black after rook f1. It seems very, very awkward indeed. We have rook g7, bishop f6, rook g8, and here now, piling on the pressure, we have rook d7. Now, is black's position safe, or can white actually exert even more pressure on key points? Guess what Fischer plays here, which really shows black's position is busted. So white's play here. Okay, d6. It breaks open some squares like b6, which are critical for the knight. The light in the rim is not so dim after d6. We have c takes. The rook has to support e7, otherwise bishop takes e7. So c takes, but now Fischer plays bishop takes e7, going into another pin scenario after bishop takes e7, because if rook takes e7, I hope you can spot what white has. Yeah, rook takes f8 check, and taking that rook. So we have bishop takes e7, another nasty pin, and the game ended here because if rook e8, white can now use the b6 square to gain a big tempo, and here another one, knight d5, and that's just crushing, absolutely crushing. For example, here we can just take here, or even knight f6, either, but simple and strong is just to take the piece, be a piece up, absolutely winning. Yeah, a crushing game in the end. And so Fischer really showing in this Olympiad the Ruy Lopez exchange variation does have some specific downsides, like the c7, the king, if the king castles on the queen side. Fischer's approach with c3 and d4 is very, very interesting treatment to try and break open sometimes the f4 square for a bishop to look at c7. So those double pawns, the nature of them, even the one, not the frontal one, but the other one, you know, as a target, is very interesting tactically as well as positionally. So yeah, very, very interesting system. Maybe this can be part of our repertoire choices, sometimes to get opponents to have to work harder. If we did play e4 and we wanted opponents to be a bit worried that we might actually play the exchange variation, there are 3 excellent games in this Olympiad to check out and study. So yeah, this is one of them, one of the 3 triplets as they were called. Okay, so I'll take you to the game end. Wonderful stuff. Hope you enjoyed it as much as me. Thanks very much.